Some big points of discussion before The Matrix Resurrections was released were how Agent Smith came back and why he had a new body. We know why. It's simple. Hugo Weaving couldn't spare the time to play Smith, but how was that going to be explained in the movie? To our surprise, the new Agent Smith ended up helping Neo in his fight against the Analyst. But what if this Smith was not the same one from the original movies as we originally thought? Welcome to Matrix Explained.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Throughout the original trilogy and the most recent installment, we have witnessed the evolution of one of the franchise's most iconic and complex characters, Agent Smith. However, who we saw in Matrix Resurrections could be a different character than the evil Smith from the OG trilogy. Let's go all the way back to the first installment and see how Smith evolved as a character. In the first film, Agent Smith was introduced as a program created by the machines to maintain control and stability in the Matrix. As the film progressed, Smith demonstrated much contempt for humanity and a strong desire to escape the Matrix. His main goal was to eliminate human rebels such as Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity, who threatened the stability of the system. He also needed the Zion codes to destroy the last human city, but Smith was part of a bigger play, and he didn't know it at the time. Smith only fulfills one of his objectives after he kills Mr. Anderson. Smith was vital to the emergence of the anomaly. If Smith hadn't pushed Neo to the extreme, if he hadn't kidnapped Morpheus and ultimately cornered Neo and shot him dead, Neo wouldn't have become the One. Understanding that this was the path that Neo was supposed to go through, we can assume that Smith fulfilled his purpose. He thought that he was doing what he needed to do to escape the Matrix's control and be freed from humanity. Yet he was just being used to activate the anomaly's code. The anomaly is an emergent quality in the code found inside Neo. This quality allows him to have supernatural powers inside and outside the Matrix. Smith was a key player, and while he may have thought he was rebelling against his creators, he was simply a pawn, a means to an end, and expendable. When Neo destroys Smith in the Matrix, he unwillingly copies part of the anomaly's code into Smith, giving the agent his emergent abilities and qualities. Now Smith could replicate Neo's abilities, but he also had a few of his own.
I don't fully understand how it happened. Perhaps some part of you imprinted onto me, something overwritten or copied. Because of you, I've changed. I'm unplugged. A new man, so to speak. Like you, apparently free. Congratulations. Thank you.
Smith becomes the out-of-control version of the anomaly that can spread and infect both worlds. His actions are exactly what many people today fear with language models: artificial intelligence that manages to obtain emergent qualities and possibly escape and spread through the internet. Neo is the cure for the Smith virus, and he sacrifices himself to remove it from the equation. The balance of the Matrix was re-established, and Smith was no more. Well, that is until Matrix Resurrections came along. In the fourth film in the saga, Smith returned, played by another actor, Jonathan Groff. Instead of being the main protagonist, Gruff Smith, as I call him, plays a more ambiguous role.
Millions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. I always loved that line. You wrote that one, yeah?
It is not entirely clear how Smith came back, which gives us plenty of room to theorize his true origin. We think that Gruff Smith is not the same character Hugo Weaving played in the classic trilogy, just like young Morpheus is not the same Morpheus. We believe that this new Smith was created by the true villain of the movie. The program called the Analyst resurrected Smith to keep an eye on Neo and make sure that he couldn't escape the Matrix again. Gruff Smith was also used to psychologically torment Neo, as we saw when this character was talking to Neo about making a new video game. That triggers Neo, and he is then sent to see the psychiatrist. As the fourth movie progresses, Gruff Smith expresses hatred for the Analyst for using and controlling him, but he still also harbors resentment towards Neo. Yet in a shocking twist of events, Smith helps Neo and Trinity defeat their mutual enemy, the Analyst. At the end of the film, Smith's fate is left in the air, but it is hinted that his involvement in defeating the Analyst might have granted him a measure of freedom. This raises the possibility that Smith's character could continue to evolve if there are any future Matrix installments, but we think that this was all a facade. In our previous video, we explained that Neo and Trinity were put through multiple simulations in an attempt to reactivate the anomaly, but the Analyst couldn't pull it off. He tried several times until he realized that the way to activate the anomaly was to unite Trinity with Neo. But we think that the activation of the code goes much deeper than that. We believe that it does not only require Trinity, it also requires recreating other elements, such as Neo's escape into the real world and his rivalry with Agent Smith. These elements are extremely important for the activation of the anomaly's code. As the Analyst mentioned, the way he gathered energy from Neo and Trinity was by subjecting them to multiple simulations, making them suffer and taking advantage of their emotions. The Analyst is a parasite, a vampire that feeds off of human emotions. Also, as mentioned in our previous video, there is a possibility that Neo and Trinity from Matrix Resurrections are not real. They are not the same humans who died at the end of Matrix Revolutions. They are reconstructions. Their personalities are much different than their predecessors. We believe that the Analyst built this couple for his version of the Matrix simulation. If we look at things that way, then it all makes sense. Gruff Smith is not the real Smith. He would be a new version created to manipulate and activate the anomaly. Thomas Anderson would have to go through the same conflicts all over again, which includes fighting Agent Smith and escaping to the real world. By then, the code is activated, and the Analyst can use it. Proof that this could be fact is when Gruff Smith is having a conversation with the video game creator Thomas. Neo then shows up in the psychiatrist's office as if it was all connected. We think that the Gruff Smith, Neo, and young Morpheus are artificial intelligence created to discover and pretend to be the original characters, to once again activate the anomaly's code that Neo carries within him. So is it then that everything we saw was fake? There might be one character that is real in this entire movie, and that is the Merovingian, but we'll talk about that in another video. The Analyst devised such a complicated plan that ultimately worked for him in the end. Thomas Anderson now believes that he is Neo and that Smith is not the real enemy, though they did go through the torture of experiencing multiple simulations.
You know the difference between us, Tom? Anyone could have been you, whereas I've always been anyone.
FYI, something that we forgot to add in our previous video is that when the Analyst mentions the multiple simulations, he also says that Neo's skin looks good this time.
Call me an optimist, but this could all be for the best. The skin's not looking too bad this time.
This statement shows that Neo has been through multiple simulations with the Analyst. In the end, maybe we didn't see what actually became of the Matrix world. How interesting would it be to have another movie with Gruff Smith discovering that he was created only to activate the anomaly's code again? But do you agree? What could have happened to Agent Smith after Matrix Resurrections? For Matrix Explained, please leave a like and subscribe. And thank you for visiting the Desert of the Real.
The day-to-day routine can feel like an endless cycle. Waking up can feel almost impossible, but not for us at Simulatte. We have the best variety of coffee and hot beverages to help you wake up to a new life. Stop by our establishment, where you'll also find a great selection of literature to go with your coffee. And who knows, you might even come across a familiar face.
Have we met?
Simulatte, the best cafe in Mega City, because there is only one way, and that is Simulatte.